Hi, Stuart from GetSafe. Welcome back. We got a lot of great feedback from Elena. She was a great guest for sure. Kind of we were talking about college entry, college freshmen. Well, some of the feedback was, what about the parents? Get some parents on here. So we did bring on some parents. We got Pete.
What's going on?
Who's got, your kids are how old?
I have 3, so 15, 12, and then what I call God's sense of humor at 5. We started over again.
That's
so,
well planned out. Nice. well done.
Yeah.
And Sandra?
I have an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old.
And who is your 18-year-old?
Yeah, the one that you had on before.
Yes, the very smart, sassy one.
More eloquent than me, yes.
And I have a 14 and 13, so going through the teenage years, and my 12-year-old just turned 13. It's crazy how smart he got as soon as he turned 13. But anyway, I love working with parents. I've worked with so many parents in the past, and I see a lot of things that I hear saying they wish they would have done, and we'll talk about that more in the episode, but it's good that you have parents that are wanting to just do the best they can with communicating with their child, making that connection. That's our thing, what we're about, communication, connection equals safety. And that's what GetSafe's about. So I want to hear some of your guys' thoughts on what you do, and start off anyone. Sandra?
Oh, wow. Okay, hotspot. Well, actually, considering that mine is just recently left for college, still close by, but there's a lot of things that have been coming up. It's been testing our communication because we don't have her here all the time. But a question that I've been asked a lot too is like, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. They don't feel like they're right next to you all the time to try and keep them safe in that cocoon. So how do I talk to them about stuff that is scary that's going on, but not making it so scary that they then want to retreat and do nothing at all?
Yeah, and that's kind of our foundation at GetSafe, because we work with high risk survivors who've been through violent actions, and we can easily scare them if we start talking about, well, this happens, that happens, but we don't do that. We kind of come from an empowerment model. So our ultimate goal is not to scare our children, and to talk to them matter-of-factly and have them be a part of the conversation, and just find out what their concerns are. Because, I always joke, I'm afraid of spiders. Like, I'm terrified. Like, I'll jump up if a spider's here, but I don't know anything about spiders. But then you see some person go, here, I'll grab you, little spider. And I'm going, don't do that, they'll kill you. Because I don't know anything about it. So the things they're hearing, right? They hear, especially with social media, that's kind of the sad part of our time right now, because they see a clip on social media and they don't really understand. And that's our job as parents to vet it out a little more and talk to them and have that kind of communication, because you really don't fear what you understand. And so the more they understand what's going on, I think the more they'll feel empowered. I mean, because we do have a lot of things that go on, and when you see it right away, it's like, oh my gosh, it's terrifying. But if you can walk them through it, and if they feel comfortable, to create that bond. And I always say, like, if if Elena has a lot of questions about things, get coffee, hang out, get somewhere neutral. Don't be in a parent-child dominance, because you want to have conversations with them. And, when you're at home, there's always that past history. It's kind of like prison, right? You're the big person who took them down earlier when they're younger, so they always have that parent fear, which is smart because they're going to get older and stronger than you. But the thing is, you want to bring in a neutral spot. So I don't know if that makes sense for you.
Yeah, I think a lot of things too on the college campuses, they seem like social media, most of us, if we turn on anything, definitely feels like there's a lot more division. The college campuses seem like they're also they're meant to be places where people can find themselves. But is there ways that we can help so that if she's going to go out and do something, we want her to be more active, find her different passions, that she can be safer about that. Things even like protests or activism pieces, because that does seem to be a place where those things are being promoted to some degree.
Yeah, and well, there's two things here, because we were in the pre-interview, which I don't know if we really had one, but you were talking about the dynamic between different parenting, like the mom and the dad. So she's going to get information different from Carlos, as you would speak. So when you guys are talking about those kind of safety issues, he's going to have a thought and you're going to have a thought. You're going to come at it two different directions because you're two different mindsets. Now, yes, teaching about peaceful protest, I work for, I'm a reserve deputy with Orange County Sheriff's, and I'm on their mobile field force team, which we call it Sheriff's Response Team. And the reason why I do it, because I want to go out there and be on that line to make sure our protesters are safe, right? There's always a group that wants to start things and cause trouble. And we were out at one, and the protesters were saying, leave the deputies alone. Don't say anything. Don't start things. But there are people who always want to start. So knowing your situation, knowing your area, and being able to do it, and going into a group that, like anything else, right? I mean, a protest line is no different than going to a fraternity party, because, there's dangers everywhere. So you want to have a solid core of people and be aware of your surroundings and different things. So I think just giving her the tools to understand what's out there, because sadly, as much as we want, we can't be around our kids 24 hours a day, right? You're in the point where you are, right? Yeah. For the most part. You now have you're a half empty nester now. So it's a little terrifying. And I've been teaching this for years, and I've worked with thousands of teens going into college and parents and teaching them how to communicate. But I got a 14-year-old. In a few more years, I'm going to be that person with, driving around, checking out things, making sure she's safe, because I don't know, I've been in this business way too long, so, but yeah, I mean, how you communicate, because you have a articulate, smart 15 and 12-year-old. I don't know the 5-year-old, but.
I mean, for us, we communicate. One, my wife and I, from day one, we always said, hey, we're a team. Yeah. And so we have to always make sure that we're on the same page, or we might have different perspectives, and sometimes we may lean a little bit here or there. But when we come in to communicate with our kids, we want to be stable. Yeah. To where they can't pin mom or dad against each other.
They're good at that.
But I guess so we do that, and then we try to have a open communication. Hey, create a safe place for our kids to wrestle.
Yeah.
If they're confused or conflicted, and make it a safe place, because that's where all the stuff really starts to come out. And, I was thinking, because you were talking about different dynamics with parents.
Yeah.
Like, I know for me, I view things and see things, my perspective is a little bit different. My wife, same for her. What would you say to parents? Like, because for me, I'm a little bit more free-spirited in some things, and can put a little more faith or a little more trust. My wife, she's all about the details. She wants to know every single thing, like how many breaths are you going to take while you're, whatever it might be. Sorry, babe. But what kind of advice would you give to parents who sometimes they can be the worst enemy with having all of these what ifs and being overwhelmed with all of the different scenarios that could play out, but yet haven't?
Yeah. I like the fact that you two are different, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you had two free spirits, you go, I'll go run with those scissors. It's no big deal. It's, so if you have that, the first thing is, like you said, know before prior. Hey, I don't want to give that example because it's a terrible example. I was going to say something like e-bikes, because e-bikes are super dangerous, and I always say, don't do them. But say you're thinking, oh, good transportation, get over there. How are we going to do this? I'm pretty sure your wife's going to be, this is way, because you, like you said, you're a little more free spirited, but you want to be on the same page and hear each other's thing, because she'll be more anxiety driven for sure. So you want to make sure she's comfortable in what you guys decide. And, but I do like that, because we are both scaredy cats. My wife's just naturally scared cat, and I'm just from what I see. So I'm always over, but I know I have to start letting go, like, a little bit, just for their development, which you guys did. Like, you created a daughter, and mine is the same thing. We have to start letting go on certain things, but be very calculated, right? Let's, for example, your 12-year-old wants to go to the movies with her friends, right? So how do we do that to make sure we feel comfortable, right? Hopefully, I'm about communication devices for kids, because I just think that it's a good opportunity to track, and there's a GPS, and there's a way to call you if they need it. So make sure they have their phone on them. Make sure you know who they're going with. Make sure the parents know that you're going to go with them. And then obviously, most likely, you'll probably drop them off because transportation. But then just give them the tools what to do, right? I just left my daughter, and I go, hey, okay, go shopping over there for a little bit. We're in the same store. I go, just scream right if you need me, okay? She's all, okay, sure, and knock over crap, because she has the tools to draw attention to what's going on. That's what I want, right? It's the silent thing that they kind of take them away. And my son's very aware. He sees things more than my daughter does, and I'm not super worried about him in the sense of, you know, being around in the store alone and different things. I'll trust him because I know he'll make a scene, and that's what we want to do. They have the tools, right? What to do. I had a friend. He was letting his kids walk pretty far by themselves, and they were young. And I go, well, do you have at least a watch, Apple Watch or a phone or a gizmo or anything for them? He goes, no, I don't believe in, because it's tracking. And I go, what if they make the wrong turn? What are they going to do? They're too young to problem solve at that level. And so he goes, well, I just don't like the tracking part. The next day he called me. He got watches for them because it made some sense to him, and, he wants to teach them life skills, but also you got to have a safety net for our kids for a while. Eventually they're going to have to fall, but you got to weigh out what you want them to fall on, and if it's too high, then it's difficult. So point being is giving them the tools. I think that would make your wife feel better, and quizzing them and how you go, hey, quiz them, see what they think. What do you do if you're in an emergency? Well, I got to call 911. What do you tell them? Where my location is. If I see someone sitting close to me in the movies, I'm going to move to a better section by the exit, who to go talk to, who to go complain. Or he goes, hey, there's somebody making me unsafe. That's all we can really do, right? We can only give them tools, and you have vetted your daughter, and I feel like she has lots of tools and lots of situational awareness above her years, right? Most of that comes with life, the more we're out there, but if you keep pumping it into them, like I said, I'm trying with my kids, and like I said that last episode, like we go out, we leave a Costco, like, all right, what was that person wearing? What person? The one standing right next to you. What was that car that almost hit us? What car? Those are the things I'm trying to get past to the point, but now my son quizzes me now. Did you see that person? I go, what do you mean, that one over there in the black pants? Yeah. Well, what was he wearing? Yeah, I did see a backpack. He goes, yeah, you're right. But he'll catch me at times because I'm watching this way, but I like the fact that he's trying to quiz me because that means he's watching. And like I said, I think I mentioned the last one, we play the Jeep game on my daughter because when we're in the car, she's just like, but I say, all right, we're going to order whoever sees the Jeeps first, blah, blah, blah. Well, she's seeing Jeeps like way on the other side, way 10 cars down, which makes me happy because that means her situational awareness is getting better. So teachable moments all the way up. I'm talking way too much. You guys go.
That's really cool because I have my 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And so we get to this point now when we're driving in the car where he's like, Dad, do I have a great eye? And I'm like, yeah, you've got 2 great eyes because we'll say, hey, just keep an eye out for these things. And then as we're just going through, and it's fun to see the excitement in it. He's learning from it. He's staying aware, developing what that really means to kind of have that instinct just to be engaged with your surroundings. And so I love that. That's cool.
Well, it's how you communicate, right? What you were saying, and how not to scare them. We're not teaching them, hey, you need to watch for road rage and people are going to shoot you. Blah, blah, blah. We're just saying, look for yellow cars. Because then that starts building up. And that's what we were talking about, right? I have a pickle drill with the kids, and, did you film it? Yeah, you did film it. Yeah, we shot that. But so what it is, we're driving and I'll yell, pickle, 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 which is, don't ask me why the name, it just came up. They unbuckle, they drop down, they're lower, right? But it's a fun game. But my head, it's because of, active shooter on the freeways and different things. They're stuck in their upright position. So we want to create like a fun dialogue, especially at 5, 6, 7. As they get older, you can be more a matter of fact. This is why we look for these things. So
I think the other part that I've noticed is driving. When you start teaching the kids how to drive.
Oh, God.
That's my life
it's another fun, right?
That's so my life.
But it does really, it's another opportunity for a lot of the situational awareness. Because I know we talk about that a lot. And I can see that, when they were younger, I think I wish that I had done a little bit more of the games. That would have been super cool. I tried it a little bit and then I'm horrible at it. I'm like, how many did I see? I can't even remember and count to even check them. However, I was noticing it was actually my 16-year-old son that was kind of made me really recognize that as I'm teaching him how to drive, I'm making sure that he's looking way ahead, and we start counting who are the very first time he was on the road. How many people do you see? How many cars are you seeing? What could possibly happen? Residential roads are scarier in theory than the freeway. But I think it's a good comparison of the microcosm of how things develop. But also it's another opportunity to really start running through all the different scenarios too. So my husband's very good at, okay, and if a tire blows, what are you going to do here? So it's a lot of that forward thinking and running the scenario through. But I don't always remember that you can take all those parallels that you're doing naturally in everyday interactions and then put it to the wider, like bigger safety pieces to it. Do you guys find that you use that sometimes? I remember talking to somebody about that and they were like, oh my gosh, that's such a great idea.
Well, I think because we're talking about safety and talking about these what ifs and these situations, I always come to the thought of fear. If it's not dealt with, it paralyzes you.
Correct.
But if you learn how to become informed or to be aware
Yeah.
or to think about how to react or what to do, then it makes you smarter for when those situations happen.
Yeah.
Right. So I know that's what I communicate with our kids all the time. Let's not be so fearful of these different things or these unknown situations, but let's learn how do we navigate it? How do we navigate tough people?
Yeah.
How do we navigate situations if you don't feel comfortable? I mean, what do you do for that? So, because I know our kids, they're going out to friends' houses.
Yeah.
They're engaging. They've got their iPhones or Apple Watch, whatever you want to call for tracking.
Samsung, okay.
Yeah, Samsung too. Yeah, for all those Samsung lovers. But what are some other key things that you could do to help communicate with your kids? Like if they find themselves in a difficult situation, how to get out of it, or how to raise alarm without being the being the awkward kid or the really like, where are you?
So my kids have a thing. If they are uncomfortable, they just start sending wacky emojis. Boom, 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 boom. Because there's always friends that look over their shoulder. What are you writing? You scared? Blah, 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 blah. But just, hey, I'm just messing with my dad and sending me all these wacky. That's a signal to go pick them up.
That's a good one.
Because because we're all looking over his shoulders. And even, my daughter has said, they watch me when I text. I go, anything you're uncomfortable with, just do that. Because that's just a quick little text, that will, now that's the code between you guys. Because it doesn't, to them, the friends, it may look silly. To us, we know, coming over right now, and to have them know that, this is when we build that communication. This is what you've done, because the sad part of my job, I've worked with parents who didn't communicate to their kids that if at any time they're uncomfortable at a party, or they overdrank, or they're, maybe they took something, or they may have been drugged or something, first is their fear of getting in trouble. And that's the last thing they should ever think. They know to call you. Call me now. We'll talk about it later, but I don't care what you've done. Whatever has happened, my job is to come get you right away. And that's the first thing. And I've worked with parents, their daughter had been sexually assaulted, their son had been beaten because they stayed in an uncomfortable situation, but they had been maybe drinking, or they weren't supposed to be there, but they didn't know that I could do it at anything. And so that's what we give them the permission. I've been teaching this for years and years and years. Give your kids the permission to call you at any time at night. And, obviously your parents here that are safe, but a lot of parents just don't know to do it. They would do it in a heartbeat. And then, like I said, I've counseled-ish parents that have over and over wish they had made a different communication style with their kids, that connection we talk about, right? Connect. Okay. Well, you might be a little mad, but hey, I'm hammered. I'm 12. It's like, what? You're at Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah, I found a bar. But, but hey, I'll come get you. So don't quit.
Why are you even at Chuck E. Cheese?
Dude, I knew that mouse was weird. He was always giving me
Oh my God. That mouse is I better not say it. I'll get sued. But yeah, it's, and even if they text you at Chuck E. Cheese whiskey glasses, why are you texting me whiskey glasses? All right, but I'm coming. But yeah, that's it. That is really everything we do at GetSafe. Everything is about that communication to create that connection. Some people think it's connection and then communicate. It's not. Whether it's verbal or nonverbal, someone gives you a stink eye, you've created a connection. It's not a good one, but that's your connection. So that's the things we do, and that will make your life safer every time you're communicating. And so, again, that's our responsibility as parents, is just keep building that trust with them. And yeah, I'm not saying carte blanche, but say, listen, we'll discuss it later. Just get home, be safe. I want you home safe in the house, and that's what you want too. And if your friends are acting up, it's not telling. I'm not going to come in and go, oh, that's it, we're calling cops, you're high. I'm going to get her or him to their house safely if they're not comfortable calling their parents, and you're safe, because I want to make sure of that. And that's kind of our agreement. And I keep trying to push it. I can't guarantee they'll do it, but I say it all the time. Anytime you guys need something, you call me. Anytime, because I answer my phone. My wife sometimes forgets. I can't hear the phone. And so, but anyway, yeah. And that's the other thing, right? My phone's off all the time, except when the kids are out. And I go, my phone's on, because those are the closest responsibilities I have now as my kids. So obviously the phone's on, everything's on, and I barely sleep. Like just last week, my daughter was out and my son was out. I went to pick up my son, and then my wife texts, Noel's home. I go, oh, good, I can rest now. Because I wouldn't have been that comfortable at night until they got home, because they were at some fair somewhere. So anyway, thoughts on that? Nothing.
No, I'm curious. Do you guys do? So I've been accused of being the helicopter parent in my earlier parenting years. So I'm curious. Like I always went in if the kids were, when they were younger, I had to know the parents. I was the one that asked, where are you going to be? Yeah. Who is it? And I'd make the connections. But as they get older, that gets a lot harder, because you start to see, for us, it was like around middle school ages, and on, where, that's when you start to see the parental involvement changes from the elementary years, where you knew everybody because the school activities, and then it starts to kind of divert out. So I'm curious, from your guys' perspective, again, from the mom side, I'm always trying to make connections still. I know my husband and I, treat that part differently, but it has to go with the safety aspect. So where you guys come from with that?
Yeah, I know I've always told my older two, my 15-year-old and my 12-year-old, hey, I know you want to go to do these things, and then if you go, don't be afraid. Like if you want to get out, if you want to bounce, if it wasn't exactly what you thought, like mom and I will be happy to be the bad guys.
Yeah.
To get you out.
Or perfect. My dad's such a jerk. He's making me go home.
I know, right? So that way they can save face. They can still have the relationship. Their peers aren't looking down on them and thinking, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah.
And so I know that's some of the things that we do. And yeah, I think when my kids were younger, I was a little bit more of that helicopter, just because I wanted them to experience and learn how to do things and also fail. But I also, like, for me, I hate injuries. I've seen, and so I tend to get a whole lot more protective on that, and to where dad was probably a little overly excessive as far as trying to protect and whatnot, even though, because I know I watch those videos on social media and dads are like, yeah, watch my kid, and they're doing all this crazy stuff. But I was always different. Yeah. So, but
yeah, no, I wish I had that in me too, but I know there's a level of you got to let go. But to the point of knowing parents, this year is different. My daughter's a freshman, and I don't know the parents as much. I always ask, who are you going out with? Who's the parents? And then most of the time my wife, and I think that might be the female aspect, because they are connected with the moms, because the dads are like, oh, whatever, and so, so we always kind of know at least the parents are taking them, and I still want to do that forever. But, and then my son has friends that there's parents that I really trust. Right. And that's comforting for me. I know they'll keep an eye on them, they'll watch them, they'll take care of them. And those are the parents I love to say, hey, go do what you want. And so we have some of that connection with the families too, but he's still in 7th grade. So it's a little easier. I can see this growing in high school, because there's, who's that? Oh, I just met her in class. Oh, well, who's that? Where are you going? We're going to go to this. We're going to do this. Like now she's on a sports team. And so now they're going to do team building. So there's no way we're going to get to know the 20 parents and different things. So, I'm getting my costume, because they're going to go to Not Scary Farm, and I'm just going to be hiding out. So lurking behind. But yeah, it's, like I said, I have been teaching this for years and years and years. And I teach like they are someone I want to make sure that they're safe. That's our goal, is to create safety with them. And that's even our trainings, I have to build that, communication and connection with them, because they're just going to go, who's this old guy? I got to listen to him, because teen classes can be hard, but we make it fun and we make it dynamic and they enjoy it. But it is really, at the end of the day, giving them just some tools to be aware, and that they can take home and have open discussions with their parents. We'll sometimes give a little tip sheet, mostly for the parents to see what's going on, so they can reinforce it, because we only get them for an hour and a half, 2 hours. But they go home, and that's where those teachable moments are, right? What you're doing, right? Your kids oh, I got a great eye, but that's a teachable moment. He doesn't know what you're teaching him, but you're teaching him more than fun. It's more about that awareness that will keep growing. And that's what, our little saying is, look for trouble and stay out of it, because it's the people who wander into something or see something and go towards it. Say, no, that's when you see trouble. That's when you stay away.
One of the things that we do, as you were talking about, just a discussion and then the dialogue between you and your kids. I know my wife and I, we say, hey, we want you to have fun. We want you to experience, to have that freedom of being a teenager, of building friendships and all these different things. But if mom and I ask you these questions, one, we're wanting for safety. Two, we're wanting to also protect, but three, then like, we want you to be able to enjoy it and not and just be aware of the temptations, the different things that might come along. So we asked about parents. Are parents going to be there? The other thing that we've worked on with our kids is, okay, well, we're not trying to be stalkers, but like we'll check on social media and different things too. And we have an open social media policy with our kids, and because I want to see who they're hanging out with. Because if I want to figure out, hey, are there any red flags or potential things that might be offsetting or whatever like that, then we'll do it. And if they're a little defensive and guarding on that, then we know, hey, that might be, we need to press in a little bit, or we just give it space to breathe and we can come back on it again.
Well, we do a role play about, and it's for all ages, but mostly the time it's like younger, like 12 and 10 and maybe 15, but we talk about buddy system, right? Hey, and we always say, check with an adult first. So we say, hey, go check with an adult, and we'll do this role play. And all right, I'm going to go here. Well, what time are you going to be back? Where are you going? And then we'll stop the class and stop the bit and go, hey, all right, are they mean parents, or do they care about your safety? So they start getting it, why we're asking these. Because a lot of times it's come, oh man, Dad, you suck. Why do I have to tell you everything? And it's true. I mean, that's how they view it. But we're looking 40,000 feet above. We want to see ahead what could happen. I mean, that's our, our kind of sometimes a curse in life and sometimes a good thing. But because we know from life experience that things can happen, right? So if we can just reframe and reshape, knowing that we just really care about you. And that's why, and I still get that, I just got it last night with my kid. He's, and I was like, I'm just trying to help you here. And you're like, so that's when I question kids. Why kids? I don't really know. They're such not rewarding. You do your best and they still yell at you.
So not rewarding. Oh my gosh.
But so reframing it, and say, listen, we just care about you, right? So we're going to just ask these questions, which you'll do someday for someone. And you'll even, and then we talk about, listen, they have brothers and sisters, and you go, would you want your sister to be harmed? Do you want your sister to go out being unsafe? Well, no. Well, that's what we're doing. And she doesn't want her older brother to go out and not be safe. And we're just trying to give you some tools. And so sometimes when we reframe it like that, it takes it away from that light on them. They say, okay, I'm thinking about others a little more, not just about me and how others feel like, about me, and they care about me and they worry about me. And as I worry about them, and those are the things, the way we equate it in really adult classes too. We talk about, things where, hey, would you want your significant other to do that? No. Well, then that's why they're watching for you too. They're just being safe, because some people yell at each other when you're trying to be safe. All right. What else do we have?
Yeah, I like this. I mean, a couple of things that I've learned that just additional techniques is it does transition from knowing the parents to knowing the kids a little bit more. So I've noticed even this, like with the college kid, I don't know the people. I see a picture or something, but I get to know them through my kids. And then that gives you a sense of familiarity. What are their values? What are you seeing from the stories that they're telling you? And another place to connect. So I've found that to be really valuable. And then what we've kind of, both my husband and I have done every once in a while, our son in particular will like game at night, and he'll have the video on, and we'll just intentionally just go in, hey, how's everybody doing? Yeah. And all the people see. So they kind of get used to, oh, your parents are around a bit, but we try and do it in a way that hopefully doesn't make them roll their eyes. I'm sure it does sometimes. I think my husband has like a gamer tag that they remember from like 7th grade or whatever. But they're little ways of kind of showing the kids' friends too that we are around, but with good intention. And I think that's come in handy because both of my kids have now experiences with their friends groups where some pretty heavy stuff has happened at ages I wasn't expecting. I think luckily my husband and I have a background where we've kind of been used to dealing with some of these things. But I mean, my daughter had some scenarios where some of her friends were talking very, very seriously about, self-harm, about suicidal ideation. My son had something very similar. He's got, there's things that are popping up, again, sooner than I actually expected them to. And then it tests another level of parenting challenges, right? So I'm curious if you guys have experienced any of that and kind of advice in that realm.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've experienced that. I mean, my 15-year-old son, he's in high school, and we've had moments where, because he's trustworthy, and so some of his friends will confide in him in certain things, and they'll talk about certain things like depression or whatever, and wrestling with certain stuff, and I'm like, wow, dude, this is some heavy stuff. And he's wanting to come to us to try and figure out, how do I navigate this? How do I handle this weight?
Yeah.
Because I think ultimately, if, we're raising good kids and we want them to be caring people, but there is a definite weight that comes about from some of those conversations. Like, Stu, how would you give advice to a parent who's got a kid who sometimes maybe they end up picking up way too much stuff that becomes their own baggage, and now it's weighing on them emotionally, mentally? Like,
what do you mean? Give me an example real quick. It's like,
so like my son had one friend, right? And his home life wasn't as good, just a little crazy. And there was one time he came down and he's like, Dad, we need to go. And I'm like, what do we need to go do? He's like, oh, my friend's in trouble. And I'm like, what's going on?
yeah.
And then he's painting this one picture and I'm like, well,
Where's the parents? Yeah.
Yeah. And so for me, I was just like, okay, how do I navigate this?
Yeah.
Because I'm getting hearsay now from this is what's happened on a phone call or text conversation that he didn't want to show me.
Yeah.
But then trying to figure out, safety, because now he's really super concerned about his friend. And it's like, oh my gosh, we just went from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
That.
Well, that's and that's what they see, right?
Yeah.
Because as we get older, we get more tools. And my thing is to first discuss it with him. Hey, listen, you can trust me. So give me a little more thing, because we have resources, right? Those are the things we'll look for, resources. And then if, find out what it is. If it's abuse, obviously we have to act a different way. And then we can bring in authorities if we're finding out there's abuse. But if there's other things that the kid's tilting on, I would try and get to the parent and go, hey, this is what we're hearing. And I would want the same thing, right? I would want someone to give me a heads up about my kid, if my kid's struggling, and just confiding in their friend. Because as much as we have communication, we like to think they come to us for everything, but we don't know for sure. And those are the things that we're still trying to build with that. But yeah, if it's, teach them how to, you would teach them how to, okay, this is a good friend you're being, and we appreciate that. And this is how we this is how we want to plot things out before we see what's going on. Let's look at it. Let me help you be a part of the solution. You guide it. You tell me what's happening. And that's the same we do with everything, bullying, let them be a part of that solution. Because if you take the control away from them, they're just going to go, oh, Dad's going to just do this. And I can't violate the trust. But if you're a team, which is a weird dynamic, right? For parents, we kind of forget we're going to be a team on this thing. I mean, tell me what's going on, and I'll give you as many resources I have and how we can do it. And you both, right? You both have backgrounds in speaking with kids and different levels of things. So that's where we want to kind of just start that conversation real quick with them, right? That communication. Okay, let's do it, and then plot it out, because we don't know what it is at first, and say, hey, open up to me. I can help you. You know me, you can trust me. And that's where, I would give them say, listen, let's discuss what we can do here. And I think we should talk to the parents because they don't know. Well, that's violating my trust with him. But, okay, what if he does something? Let's look at what could happen, and is it your trust worth the fact that they may hurt themselves? And you're just doing it for their best interest, and that's how we can talk to the parents and different things. This is what I would start with this suggestion, and then after that, then we look at avenues of resources that they may get. So
I've actually now reflecting on it, quite a few different things. And one of the things that tends to spark it, I don't know if your kids have gone through this at school. They usually have a time of the year now where they do like a mental health assessment, or they have somebody come in and they talk about the resources that they have at school and how kids can help each other by anonymously reporting a concern. that time of year, now that I'm reflecting on it, usually sparks something. But also I've noticed the kids have been given the vocabulary to use, but not necessarily understanding what that vocabulary means. And sometimes like misusing that vocabulary entirely. So I personally have actually had to walk my children through like a suicide assessment. To understand, what is it? Are they just venting? Did something bad happen? Do they need, or how serious is this? And we've had a couple different scenarios where different people have had to get involved and taken it to the parental level because there is enough. There's a means, there's a plan, there's, an ability or an access to something to which they could enact that plan. And I'll be honest, I think this happened with one of them when they were like 11, and that scared the heck out of me because I was like, what? At this age, I think I called you. I tend to call you when there's like major safety-oriented pieces.
Doesn't
like,
call and say hi, it just says, hey, I got a problem.
Yeah, and I'm like, walk me down. Like, take me through that I'm not like either blowing this entirely out of proportion, because that's the other part. As the parents, then we're like, oh my gosh, this is not the world that we grew up in. We weren't, I don't know about you guys. I wasn't dealing with that.
Well,
like
it's
11
the social
and 12.
media too, the aspect, right? It's desensitizing and it's almost honoring suicide and different things. So that's the hard part that the kids are dealing with. I was just saying to Sandra today and Caitlin is that my kid's way too smart for a 13-year-old because of the media. And now we monitor it, but he's not really looking at anything bad except for he's seeing different aspects, and he doesn't need my opinion. Like, oh, I just Googled how to, or YouTube what kind of soccer shoes. Well, if they're not fitting right, well, it says the toe boxes. I'm like, okay, more than I ever knew at 13 for sure. And so your original question was, have I dealt with that? Yeah. In our agency, we have disclosures. We're mandated reporters. So we'll go out to teens and we can spot something going on, and then we'll have many disclosures after. And then obviously we do a special incident report and get the school involved, but they'll disclose. And one time, or a couple of times, we've had friends disclose to us, hey, she was acting like that because this is what's going on. And then we were able to make communication with them and see, because we're always watching that when we're in our classes, because our class can trigger an assault, a date rape situation, possible, trauma in their lives. So we have to watch and understand how the tools will go with that. So those are where I see. I haven't had to do it yet with my kids yet, so it's just hopefully never going to happen, but I doubt it. But yeah, the tools is what you gave them, which is really great, right? Kind of what you see and how not to go to 0 to 100, like you said. And so, but that's their mind, right? That's all they see. So
with those tools, what kind of tools are available, or where could we find them, or how could I find some that you guys have? Yeah, it's depending on what it is, right? Okay. If it's suicidal ideation, we can help with finding packets on speaking terms, like, here, this is what you look for, like she was saying. Is it the means are a big thing? The intent, is it, or are they venting? So to be able to do reads like that, and then, also let them know, okay, even if it seems like, oh, they're probably just saying it, but that's the kind of thing we don't want to take that chance at times. So we look at more of the tools. So anything, right? We talk about what it looks like an abuse, right? Oh, my friend, he's really unkept, and why, and he's just a dirty dude. But maybe there's abuse at home, right? Like maybe he's not getting the food or showering and different things. So we assess all that, and we work with a lot of individuals in group homes. We want to make sure they're being cared for. So there's a lot of things you can view and your kids can view, and you can tell what behavior problems. And my son is very black and white, so I'm trying to explain to him that, because he's like, that kid's just a jerk. I go, maybe there's something else with the kid. Maybe there's a behavioral problem. He's just like really hard, and I'm trying to be very different in my, because I'm a very gray guy. I'm like, oh, okay, there must be something going on there. And so trying to give them those tools of emotional intelligence, in a sense of reading people, understanding what's going on. But yeah, there's like, you can contact our agency and certain things that, on parenting, we can always, we don't know, there's plenty of experts out there that we are connected with. And,
we got a grant not that long ago for 988. So that's also something that I think isn't always out there in a more immediate situation for a mental health concern. It is a hotline, and so that's a good one to use. Obviously, if somebody really is, like, they're in the midst of something actually happening, then 911 is your call.
Yeah.
But yeah, along with that is a lot of these discussions, like we said, of understanding the baseline. and what deviates from the baseline. I think that's always an indicator. If your friend has been totally up and excited and everything, all of a sudden they're showing something different than that doesn't seem like what is like their personality. Those are the things that we tend to cue in on. And I think then we talk about that, and we're teaching the kids those types of things too. Like, is your friend always like this? Do you notice patterns and deviates from the pattern? And that helps you decide how serious it is. But the other part is, like you've said before too, is an adult, any adult. We have gotten in the situations that we've handled to the point where I go, hey, you happen to have parents that deal with this stuff as part of our profession. So that is a resource for you. And we have additional resources. And we always bring up, Stuart, in different places that we can do that. But the kids just need to be able to learn how to talk outside themselves. And sometimes that's the indication too. Like, are they willing to talk to another adult about it? Because sometimes this is stuff where it was, they're emotional. They've got the hormones running. They've got all those different things.
They're seeing a lot of stuff.
They're seeing a lot of stuff. Yeah, that is like amped up in different ways. The other part, though, I think that I wish that we had a little bit more of is, even like with discussions like this, is also from the parental side. If you're connected with a support system, then I think that works great. But I think there's a lot of us that are getting more disconnected from those support systems. So we don't even know who to go to when we're dealing with stuff with our own kids. Like I said, I mentioned, you are a huge support system for me. I mean, I remember as little as one of the ones that always stood on my mind, I think I mentioned this to you a couple of days ago, was like the Sandy Hook incident. Was literally, I dropped my child off as a kindergartner in the middle of the cafeteria, came home to this horrific story, and I was calling him to calm me down, because I was like, I want to run back and take them and never let them out of the house ever again. Yeah. And he had to like talk some sense into me. But I think that's the other part for the parental side of opening the discussions a little bit more. What are we dealing with? We're dealing with different stuff than our parents did.
Yeah, especially the media, right? It's, I would always say, I was on, and Sandra was actually there. There was a shooting at Inland Regional Center. And so thankfully she had just left prior to the shooting, and I did a little spot on the news. And the ultimate thing I wanted to get across is to sit down and talk to your child about this, alleviate some of the fears that they have, and also calm yourself before you see them, because if you get amped up, they're going to feed off of that as well. And those are the things. But we were talking about, I think, the conversations prior to something happening, right? Start thinking about, like, what are the things my kid could run into, and have that kind of conversation. Like, hey, you may have a friend that's, or this and that, and have it prior. So, right. Yeah. The more tools we have, the better prepared, right? Yeah. So what does it say? Prepare for the worst, hope for the best, but the more tools you put in their toolkits, the more they'll have. And because we are forward facing parents, we want to give them more than less. And then we talked about earlier, before we start shooting, is that some parents kind of give up hope for that communication aspect. And we know for sure that it's never too late. And maybe your tactic has to be changed. It's hard for parents, we're like, I'm not going to do this. And I'm going to, like, yesterday I was telling Sandra, my son and I got in an argument, and I'm going in my head, I got to go just say, I love you. You're the best, kid. I'm sorry. And I'm going, I'm a parent. I shouldn't have to do that. But, we fight ourselves at times too, so, but we have to create that communication. It's not too late. And yes, and some kids are hard, right? They're going to be harder, and you got to figure out how to do it. Everything's a tactic. Every personality is different. My son and daughter are completely different people, and I have to vary through it. People in our agency, we have 17, 18, 20 different personality types. They're all, somebody got the big personalities, little personalities, introvert, extroverts, ambiverts, all those things we have to figure out. But we have to learn how to make a connection. I remember talking to a guy at our office, and I go, what's the best way to communicate you? Is it direct talking, or is it what works for you? Because I couldn't figure out how to crack it. And I was like, he goes, well, this will work. I go, okay, thank you. So I directly asked him, how do you receive information better? Because I just couldn't figure it out. I'm usually pretty good at, connecting with people. And this one was just having a hard time. And he was a good guy, for sure. And I just couldn't figure out. And finally we were able to talk about it. And I just asked directly, how do you receive information? What's the best way for you? But that's the same with our kids. That's the thing. We have to just treat each one of them completely different, and just how do you want to talk? And we just, as parents, we have to adjust and never feel it's too late, even in their 20s. Sometimes there's that saying, what do they say? I never knew how smart my parents were until I turned 20 something, because that's when they start realizing what you were doing, right? Now it comes in, oh, it makes sense. You were saying this because of this reason. But yeah, I would say never quit trying, and don't feel like I think it's the pride thing sometimes when it comes to parenting. I'm your dad, I'm your mom, I'm not going to have to do this, but we should, right? Yeah. It's not being the bigger person, but it is kind of being the bigger person in the sense of, okay, you're acting like a crazy person. I'm going to breathe and I'm going to wait till you get done, and then we'll have a little talk about it instead of going amp to amp, right? Because, yelling just escalates everything. And then after you yell, what else there's nothing else left that you can do, right? You've already reached your potential of authoritarian, and it's not working. Instead of just, okay, go rest, go relax. When you're cool down, we'll have a chat, and then, like I said, maybe over coffee, over tea, over a soda somewhere, or a hamburger or something. And then pick your places, be very methodical. And it's hard, right? Parenting, life, work, parenting, everything we have to do is hard. And it's taking those moments to try and do it. Because this is really, it's funny because I talk to parents, I go, our kids didn't ask to be here. That was we chose that, and sometimes you didn't, but you still, you still worked it out, and that's your child, and that's the most important job you can have, that's it. So.
Yeah. I like what you said. I guess when they're in their 20s, that what you were talking about, and when they're 21, then they start to, because I'm not there yet. I mean, my oldest is 15. He's a sophomore. But I always do think, my wife and I would talk about that, like, he was born, we've raised him through the toddler years, preteens, teens, my daughter's going through the teen phase where all the emotions and the hormones and all that. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, I just need to be patient because this is like drama right now and it's overwhelming me. But the idea that when they get older, hopefully I was intentional enough that I can have the right relationship where I'm still the parent, but now it's more of like, now we get to do life, talk life together. So it's almost like that long game.
It's a long game for sure, right? Because their brains grow into it and they realize, oh, this is why they did that. I mean, listen, I was just saying this the other day. I can't figure out my daughter. I mean, I've been teaching females and males forever, and I was like, I have no idea. Like, my daughter she was swimming and she swam and she, did pretty good. But then she said, well, the coach said I should push off the wall quicker. And I go, oh yeah, I was thinking of that. Also, she started crying, and it's like, and my son, after soccer, we talk about, hey, what was the good part? What was the bad part? And I go, oh my gosh. And it happened again. I'm going, I have no idea how to.
Dude, I can't believe you.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And I talk to my wife, well, you made her cry. I go, what did I say? I just said the coach was probably right. That's all. And
you dads always make them cry.
Yeah, I know. It's just so crazy. And I go, okay, this whole, I mean, my son and I communicate a little better on stuff because it's just matter of fact. Yeah, I'll work on this. I go, yeah, I could see that. No, never. I'm just not saying a word around my daughter. So it's just funny. So it is different styles, right? But yeah, I have seen it for sure. I've talked to older kids and they go, oh yeah, now I understand what my parents were doing. And it's a sense of reward. You just got to be able to hold out through that long game.
I think you also bring up really good points that, again, now I can be slightly reflective, I'm not entirely done with this whole part of the journey, but I do see the differences, and also that they've learned that they go to the different people for the different responses that they want, right? Yeah, they'll go to mom for something, they'll go to dad when they're ready for something else. But I think that's a very valuable life lesson too, because we all do it. We talk to our significant other when we want a certain response because we know what they're going to do, versus a best friend, versus, whoever else. So I think that's, another one of the mottos I know that GetSafe uses is changing mindsets, changing outcomes. Yeah. And a lot of that's about perspective. So I've tried to use that piece also with the kids. It was funny enough, what really highlighted it was somebody that we mutually know that we've kind of mentored, and very clearly was in the middle of dealing with some pretty heavy stuff and was like, so I go to you, when I want like the mom cry on my shoulder, listen to me, let me be emotional, let me just talk it all out and get out all emotions. I go to that person goes to my husband when they want all right, it's done now. What are you gonna do? Like strap it all up and let's move on to the next thing because you're done being
it's
pitying
so
yourself.
true too. That's been
really
around
good.
ever, right? That's it always. I always saw it on Friends. It was a Friends show where I don't know if it was Joey went on a date, and they showed the girls, and then the girl who went on a date with Joey was with the girls on the thing, and they were all, tell us what happened. We're starting fair in the beginning, how this, and then Joey walks in. How was the date? Pretty good. Okay, cool. Let's start more. And that's kind of what we do. Yeah,
true.
It's very true. I mean, it's guys are, that's what I do. I go right into fix mode. All right. This is not that big a deal in a sense. I'm not trying to minimize your pain, but I'm saying we can fix this. No one died, you just got the wrong size shirt, but, is minimized as we think, you just got to talk it out. But that's true. It's so true about that.
But I think it's also, it's also been highlighted too with that is it doesn't always have to come from the parental units, because everybody has different types of families, but to find those different balances for you, wherever they are, whether they're in your actual family, whether they're, blood relations or friends or people that you've sought out. Cause we have a lot of people that, unfortunately that just wasn't where it was happening in their given families. So they found others in other ways. And I think that's huge and valuable. And it's also been really interesting to expose the kids to those things, and have them see different ways that people handle stuff as they go. And then you get to see that again, I'm a little bit in semi-reflective mode because I'm seeing some of the benefits of what it is that's been built over a long period of time. So also, nothing is just like, nothing happens overnight for the most part. So you're building stuff, but at the same token, as you were saying before, it's an ongoing journey all the way through. And I'm definitely now in that phase of like, I get it when my parents are like, but you're always my baby. Like, well, yeah, but I'm old. But, so you see this. I mean, I remember looking at like teenagers and like, you should know what you're doing by now. Now that I have them, I'm like, yeah, no, they don't.
Yeah. It's so true. Yeah. It's just, it's just that ever growing, changing, and they change, so you think you have it down this year and next year it's different. And it's like, oh my God, so true. You got to relearn how to communicate again because you're in high school and then it's going to happen in sophomore. And so, it's really hard, but our ultimate goal is, like I said, connect, get that communication so you connect with them and, and just keep working on it. And it's just how you do it, how it comes to you and how you guys relate to things and make it fun, make it open, and do things with them. I'm a big advocate of taking each kid out independently too. And, spend time with my daughter, spend time with my son. So same with my wife. So you have a different level of connection and they start seeing you, as an independent, you can come to you. Cause again, they'll go to who, right? It's weird. Sometimes they'll go to my wife and I go, why didn't they go to me internally? But I'm glad, it's just I'm thinking, am I overreacting? Or are they worried that I might say something like different? But so anyway, and the other part I would say is that there's ways to correct, but it's how you frame it, right? I always like to do it on the positive. Like, hey, that D was good, right? Maybe we can study a little more. You did a great job.
Well, you're a lot nicer than I would.
Yeah. I know.
I mean, because it's like,
D's for dang awesome.
Yeah. I mean, because D's got degrees, right? Or is it C's? Oh crap! It was C's. That's why.
D's might get degrees too. I don't know.
But anyway, but how you frame it and stuff, right? It's always trying to come in an empowerment kind of way, like I tried that when my daughter didn't work. Like, oh, that was great. You did so good. Yeah, holding on the wall, it's going to take a second. Okay, so I didn't do that one right. But anyway.
Well, then they think that you're telling them good all the time because you have to, because you're your parent, and then you got to figure that one out.
I'm not even going to say how great of an actor I was back in the day. Well, I just wanted. Anyway, go on, because when you're saying, oh, you're so great at this, they weren't so great.
Stuff. So
I really liked your emoji thing. Actually, I've not.
Yes.
I did not think about that one. That one's fire. Yeah. Fire, as the kids would say.
You said dab earlier. What is wrong with you? Who are you?
No, that's a little more cringe too.
Oh,
I get that a lot. You're cringe. I don't
you
know
what?
that
I'd
means.
say that like it works 6 or 7 times.
Yeah, my daughter says that. She's like, Dad, that's cringe.
Yeah. God, I know. But yeah, no, I mean, and I like the fact that your kids are in different states or at least close, because yours are almost have another 18-year-old coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, let's not jump 2 years ahead, but all right.
Well, it's gonna be 17.
Okay, whatever.
All right.
All right.
Put your blinders back on. No big
Gosh.
deal.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah,
That's
no,
how I
we're just,
survived
we're
so
just
far.
gonna ignore that.
Yeah. Rude.
I'm just glad I got to hear that you made your daughter cry. That's awesome.
I did.
That's great.
Twice and
Trying to
again.
fix it
I
instead
couldn't
of just
remember this.
listening.
Yeah.
I know. Seriously, stop trying to fix it. Don't you know that's the flaw that you guys always like to
I
do?
was so nice about it too. Like, oh yeah, I agree. You know, if you're so oh my god.
So I've actually used that. That's another one that I've heard it from somewhere, and so I've actually used it. Sounds corny as crap, but it actually works. Where I'm like, okay, do you want me to listen or do you want me to give you a response? And it really has helped for some of those really like amped up discussions.
Yeah.
But it's hard as crap because I'm like, I have all these things I want to say, but you're not ready to listen to it, so I have to shut
Yeah,
up.
I'm not good at it even still, and I know. I still just like to fix. That's part of what we do, right? And part of my work and my world is let's fix it. How do we do it? Because a lot of people are, they get upset by things that are not as upsetting, maybe from an outside eye. And hey, we can work on this and we can move through this. But sometimes they just want to vent, and then fix. So
Well, I've always thought, right? You either fix things with word of advice or actions, or sometimes you fix things just with presence.
We want to wrap up with your number one parenting tip.
Oh, number one? How do you
That's
do
hard.
number one?
I don't know. Try it.
I'm going to just go with, communication plus connection will equal safety. So all levels, anytime you can just create that communication moment, and you're going to create another level of connection, whether it's a deep level or it's something just surface, that's what we have to do. And that's going to help in the long run, because that's that trust you're building in them. And again, I'm all about trust, in the sense of if you say you're going to do something. If, they say, well, don't say anything, how about discuss it with them prior? Because once you break their trust, in a sense, I told you not to say anything, you did it, then it's going to be hard for them to get more things. So I have to be careful on that stuff, because my daughter will disclose and I'll say, let me go say something. No, Dad, if you do that, I get okay, I won't. As long as so we had an issue real quick, and it was a swimming issue with some lifeguards, and my son made me promise I wouldn't say anything. I go, okay, I won't. So I let it go for a little bit, but I did go and talk to the supervisor, the head guy, and say, this was ridiculous, because it was a ridiculous situation that happened. I just don't want to throw the agency under the bus. But so I did eventually go. I didn't tell him. I just went over and spoke, and eventually I said, did you ever say anything then? I'm like, oh, I might have mentioned it to the supervisor, but he was really adamant. As long as they're safe, right? But if it was an unsafe situation all the time, then I'll say, okay, but I'm going to figure out a way to go around them. At times we have to do that. That's part of our job, but mostly, respect their trust, and they'll give it more and more to you. So anyway, communication, connection, equal safety. We have a little t-shirt like that. Do we have a t-shirt?
Just t-shirt. We have t-shirt.
Yeah, we have a t-shirt. So anyway, Pete, anything closing?
No, that was great. Thanks a lot, Stu. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you guys. I appreciate it, because it's always stirring up, and living in the moment is where we're all now at. It's different for me than when I was teaching, or as his teaching. So anyway, thank you guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll have another cool one. I think we may be bringing a campus safety expert aboard, and we'll see what he sees all the time. So in the meantime, get safe, be safe.